Do you want to get good at Chile? Well, you're in luck, my boy, for today I bless upon thee the full-fledged, comprehensive guide to Chile. It will be, okay, it's not actually that exciting. It was going to be two sections. First section, a brief overview of the different regions and what they kind of look like, followed by a more in-depth, nerdier, stupider, not as good, uh, just look at like the different regions and specific roads with my yapping attached. What more could you want? So in the far north, from around Arica to Iquique, you'll be on these long empty roads with distant mountains, or in these gently sloped valleys with some lovely greenery in the middle. Then below that, from about Calama to Taltal, you'll see sandy flat roads with very few mountains, and, well, sometimes some hills, especially in the areas near like Antofagasta, like here. Then the region east of Calama, around the Los Flamencos National Park, you'll see like this barren landscape with these really unique cone-shaped dark mountains, usually with some sort of snow on them. Around Copiapo, the mountains will look a lot sharper and the soil gets a bit less sandy and more of a rocky feel. More plants will also start to appear, like especially along the coast. Next, the area south of La Serena and sort of north of Santiago is much more built up and quite distinct actually due to the mountains, usually carried by these dark, kind of greyish cacti. Really cool. Santiago area is the most urban in the country, and it's quite hard to find areas without like fields, vineyards, or like surrounded by houses with these like large mountains kind of surrounding you. Then down from around Curico to Los Angeles, the climate gets much wetter compared to the more Mediterranean feel around Santiago, much more of a central northern Europe kind of look. Usually, these areas are quite flat or like slightly hilly, with a lot more greenery and sometimes pine trees. Then, in the region next to Concepcion, it'll be heavily forested, with lots and lots of trees, often with like these dirt roads and some common trees you'll see in the area. There's this kind of fuzzy pine tree that sticks up, and also this long, thin, floppy tree that looks a lot like eucalyptus. But you can also see this kind of like near Curico, so not as perfect, but still. And also, the soil usually has got this kind of red tint to it, which makes it even more unique. In Temuco, or the kind of Araucania province more specifically, it will look much more European than the areas above, with summer coverage. So if it isn't feeling warm and sunny and nice, usually isn't Temuco. It's usually a bit further north or south. Most of it's in Gen 4, but there's also the occasional tricky Gen 3 lock, so definitely watch out for those. Next, the region east of Valvidia looks pretty similar to Temuco, but is noticeably a lot hillier and quite a bit wetter. Around Puerto Montt and the kind of Zorno area, there's all these long flat roads with a very similar landscape to the UK or New Zealand, which is really distinct for Chile, but yeah, be careful because a lot of people tend to go one of those, especially New Zealand. Some areas towards the far east into the mountains look pretty similar, however, yeah, since they're in the mountains, you'll be seeing hills and mountains and things, but it should be pretty easy to tell apart than the rest of the country or the rest of the state. Next is the island, or Chiloé, if you want to be fancy, which is actually pretty tricky in Gen 4, but in general it looks a bit like a drier version of Puerto Montt, with some hills. Luckily, Gen 3 is a lot more distinct, with these kind of dry, summery landscapes, often on these pretty narrow, gravelly roads. They're kind of the same color, so once you've seen one of them, you've kind of seen most of the island in Gen 3. Finally, the last region I think is regionguessable without having like to know specific roads is this one near Puyuhuapi. All this coverage south of this and including this is Gen 3, so it's Gen 4, wrong area. It's got dramatic landscapes with these fancy massive mountains and also a very rainforesty feel. Commonly, you're found on these kind of wide gravel roads, wider than on the island, but it's also got some distinct plants, like this kind of fern or like this kind of spiky leaved lettuce thingy. Okay, now I'll just be like talking about some of the specific roads and or regions that I didn't cover in the other bit that are useful and quite distinct and good to know. And starting off down south, we have the Puentes Arenas kind of roads, where it's yellow lines and this kind of weird concretey road. This is pretty much everywhere you'll find along this road. And some bits are hillier than others. This bit's kind of a little bit hilly. This bit's a bit hillier. But this bit, flat, completely flat. There's also this road that comes out just north, and it looks kind of similar, landscape-wise, but as you can see, it's not got the same road, and instead, a good way to notice this one is that you'll be surrounded by two sides of this kind of rickety wooden fence, which is pretty useful to know. And up here, around this kind of circle of Puerto Condor and Puerto Natales, you'll see it gets a lot mountainy, not more mountainous, and some bits even like this one looks quite a bit like Iceland, I feel like, which is, you know, good to know. But most of it doesn't. Most of it looks kind of flat, with a dirty road, with big mountains in the side. And also, you can see the plants here. You get these weird yellow ones. The kind of, they look a bit like heathers, but I don't know if they are. But either way, kind of circly, greenish, and yellow. And this kind of stays for most of the ring around the river. But yeah, some of it isn't. A bit more like this one. This side is more foresty and kind of sunset-ish coverage, as you can see, below the mountains. But in general, yeah, most of it looks like this, with these circular plant things on the dirt road. Looks kind of dark, a bit dingy, and mountainous. Now onto the kind of Villa O'Higgins kind of roads. As you can see, you'll be surrounded, like more towards the actual town, by these beautiful autumnal orange-leaved trees, which would, they are pretty distinct. However, you do get these in other places, like over here in Cochrane, and some of these other roads, where this one. So, but this one, the Villa O'Higgins Road, is the flattest in general. So, it should be easier to tell apart from the others. I have trouble with them too. But further up the road, you'll see it looks quite different. But a good way to tell it apart from other regions is these kind of dead-ish trees. Maybe that's not the greatest picture. Yeah, it's kind of dead trees in this kind of wide valley. But then you'll also see these kind of tall ones spurting out of the everywhere else. As you can see, more dead trees, more big tall ones, dirt roads. Well, actually, pretty much every road down here is dirt, but it's gravelier. And you'll see you're not like fully in the mountains. There's kind of a valley in between, which is also quite different. Now this road is really pretty. I like it a lot. It's similar to these ones down here, but the valley's a lot bigger, and you'll be in these kind of a bit like an ocean of just dead plants, and I think it looks really cool. Some other locations around here. Yeah, and also the mountains, right? Oh no, go back here. The mountains, they're kind of like, kind of just not connected. Like this one looks very standalone compared to some of the others. But they're also very rounded at the top. Some of them have snow on them, but not too many of them. Yeah. Further up the road it gets a bit less distinct. However, it does get darker. Like if you compare this, you know, pretty bright, to like here, okay, getting a bit dark. The shadows are coming out. But then you come here, oh my god. So dark, so dingy. Basically middle of the night, almost. Uh, but yeah, that's kind of that road. Then it's not connected for a little bit. Don't worry about that. Then it goes back up to, again, like I said, the orangey trees around Cochrane. Cochrane's a really annoying bit to guess because it kind of looks like a lot of other regions, as you can see. But then this road here, which road is this actually? The X83, along the kind of mountainy bit over here, looks really distinct in my opinion. It looks really cool. Again, you've got kind of yellowy, round plants, a bit like the roads down here. However, big difference, the soil noticeably redder and the sun noticeably brighter in the sky. Because you come down here, right? Yeah, it's kind of bright in some spots, but it's still really cloudy and a bit colder feeling. Come up here, warm. Probably spring, or well, actually it's December, but still looks warmer. And that's the way I tell it apart from the other two. Other road there. This road is also kind of similar, however, you'll be kind of near the water to the north in most spots. And it also looks even warmer, even sunnier, and it also curves round here, which is kind of weird, but the further you go, the less sunny it gets and the more wintry it feels. So down here, right, really wintry, really snowy, really cold. This kind of region looks similar to like down here, but it's less mountainous in general. It'll be more like hilly on the sides here. And then you move up to this road here. Also got some orange, however, it's got raindrops on the camera. It's cool. Anyway, yeah, I'm not like the most qualified to be talking about these sun roads, to be honest. I don't know what makes this one different from like down, well, actually not that one, from like down here. I don't really know a good way to tell the difference. I mean, of course they look different, but I'm not the best at it, so I'll be leaving some links to some guides down below that in the description that are more useful for these southern roads that I don't actually know. There's a really good one by Palmer that I really like. It covers the northern roads, like the max north ones up here, and a lot of the southern roads that I'm not so good at. So yeah, go definitely read that one if you want to learn some more. Oh yeah, now we're onto the kind of Valle Simpson Koheke area, which I think is another really distinct area. Partly because if you follow on this road around here, it turns back into a paved road, concreted, a bit like the one down south. And you'll also find that you're kind of it's a lot more open and a lot more like alpine feeling than a lot of the other bits of Chile. Like see this, it looks a lot like Switzerland. Yeah. Well, not all of it, of course. This bit over here in some of these off-roads, the white roads here, they look a bit dodgy, a bit darker, but the general way you can tell it apart is that the mountains will be a lot further away from where you are, a bit like down here, but let me click it. Some of the roads also have the orange trees, which is another area. So you get it around here, you get it around Valley Simpson, oh not Valley Simpson, Villa O'Higgins I mean, and Cochrane. So yeah, not very useful. And you also get on this road again. However, this one, it's less trees, more bushes. Very useful. But anyway, back to Valley Simpson. It's a lot more open. The mountains are a lot further away. So if you're down south, right, and the mountains are like, it looks a bit flatter, the mountains a bit further away. Usually, you'll be somewhere in this kind of region. And then, yeah, this carries on again to Villa Ortega on the 7. Oh yeah, Puerto Aysen. The return of the concreted road, but the more distinct part, these purple flowers that you see on the side of the road, you see these kind of all around this area, actually. Not that one though. See, especially this road, the X50, next to Las Turbinas. Literally everywhere you click is probably going to have some purple flowers just along the road. And it also helps that it's concreted, so that's an even better way to tell it. These regions down here, concrete roads, really, really nice, really, really pretty, the flowers. And yeah, it kind of carries up a little bit. The flowers you can see them a little bit. Up to about here, where you don't really see so many. Yeah, you don't see many up here. And then off on this road, which one is it again? X450, no, X445 and X425. This road is a lot emptier than a lot of the other roads down here. It looks actually a lot like South Argentina just next to it, so you could easily get confused. But if you know you're in Chile, with, well, a good way to tell it apart obviously is the white car. You don't get that in Argentina. But also, it just looks different. Like if I click on a road over here, the plants or the road quality, right? It's a lot thinner road than you would see in Argentina, where it's a lot wider. Yeah. You also see in the distance sometimes these red and orange leaf plants. They're pretty nice. Another region that gets them, but for most of it, right, you don't see them. It's also a bit like the mountains look different than the ones in Argentina, so they're more just there's more mountains. They're rockier, hillier, bigger in general. I'm sure if I click over here though, it looks pretty similar. But yeah, the road's a lot wider, so that's a good way to tell it. Tell one from the other. As I clicked up here before, yeah. It looks pretty similar to down here, except it's sunset or sunrise or something. And yeah, the bushes, orange bushes, much closer than any other place you'd get them. Off here, Puerto Cines, big wide dirt road, a lot more white than a lot of the other ones around. A lot rockier, a lot gravelier, the roads, as you start moving up. But also, just the mountains, right? The mountains look different. They've kind of got like, they're covered in greenery, but they've also got patches of rock around them that you don't really see. Down, let me get to a good one. Yeah, down here. You don't really see so much of the rock. It's more green. It's also a bit less foresty, I feel like, around here. Feels a lot less tropical and a bit more kind of boring, I guess. Then up here, around Puyuhuapi, the roads get, oh, not that one. The roads in general get a bit better in quality. As you can see, they're actually paved. Some of them have road lines, most of them don't. Mostly just for this little section there, to be fair, where the roads get in better quality. But it's a good way, because it kind of looks similar. Yeah, like I talked about the spiky plants and the ferns. Where's some ferns? Let me find some. Ferns, where are you? Or whatever, you've got these spiky plants anyway. They're good enough. When they carry on pretty much the whole way, you'll be seeing a couple of them, at least, in most locations. So yeah, up here, right, the roads get a bit better as well. More spiky plants. Where the ferns? Let me find some ferns. There'll be ferns somewhere, I bet. Maybe around here somewhere. Oh, whatever. And then on this road, ooh, cows. On this road, near Palena, the roads get a lot smaller, I feel like. Like, definitely single track compared to like here, where it's like two. two can fit there, two can probably fit here, but here, definitely, the roads are a lot smaller. And also gets a bit more open, like the valleys down near Kohike, as you can see. Big, big wide valleys, short roads, and also another thing you can often see, not on that location, is these kind of red berries. If I can find some. No, there. Here. Yeah, here. These red berries on these plants. They're also really common on these two roads here. What are they? Does one go a road number? Don't think it does. Well, anyway, along this one, and up here, near Futalrifu, they have a similar kind of landscape, to be fair. And they both have the same kind of orangey plants. Well, not orangey plants, the ones with the red berries. Yeah, like these ones. You don't really see that anywhere else, so that's a good way to tell these two roads apart from everywhere else. And then over, oh, this road's really bait. It looks like the southern ones near Tortel, but it's far north. Yeah, the good way to tell this one apart from the southern ones, again, spiky plants, and these different plants with red berries. Different from the other ones, from Palena. The berries are bigger, but either way, a good way to distinguish this one from the far south roads. And then over here, yeah. Loads of ferns, loads of spiky plants, and it's quite a dark road actually. It's probably one of the most tropical down south of Chile. Yeah, really dark dirt over here. Yeah, basically this entire region can be summed up in spiky plants, ferns, and more tropical than most of the rest of the country. Oh yeah, then up here, getting into Gen 4. So if it looks like down south, like these roads, but it's Gen 4, that means you're below this kind of, oh no, you're above this body of water here, because there's no roads going past. You'll see the little, like, ferryway or whatever. You're above there. And it looks kind of similar to down south. The roads are a bit better in general. And in most locations you'll be able to see the ocean. Well, not this one. Not on this middle road, but it looks like down south. And it's got a nice paved road, so you should be able to get that one. This one, yeah. Again, you can see the ocean. Or this river, at least. Which you can line up pretty well, in general, to find the 5k. Up on this road, again, more of the same. Most of this area looks pretty similar. Yeah, okay, now onto the island. Like I said, most locations, dirt roads. I bet if I just click some, dirt road, dirt road. Oh, this one's not dirt road. Maybe this one. No. Dirt road, gravelly. There's also got this spiky plant that's also found on the island as well. Yeah. The dirt roads are actually like really similar to the ones you find down here. So I always think it's close to the island. It's close to this bit. Similar kind of road structure. So when in doubt, always use that. Yeah, it gets a bit more hilly down the south and then up north. Nice and flat. If I can actually click on the road. Nice and flat. But still, you can kind of tell it apart from other bits of Chile down here. Because it just looks, I don't know, it looks less British in a way. Don't know what it is really. Maybe it's the vegetation. Actually, yeah, it's definitely the vegetation. These plants do not look very British, whereas these plants look a bit more British. Especially these ones. Damn. I swear I've walked here before. I've basically been in this place in the UK. Yeah, it's kind of Puerto Montt area. Most of it looks pretty similar in this kind of valley between these mountains and these mountains. But as you approach one side or the other, it gets a bit hillier, a bit more Valvidia kind of looking, especially on these roads. But yeah, a good tip to know whether you're in the mountains here rather than the ones on this side is that a lot of these roads will have yellow road lines. That's basically a sign you're in the mountains. It goes all the way up, pretty much. Yeah, around Valvidia in these kind of areas, it looks really similar to some of these roads down near Puerto Montt, but noticeably a lot hillier, a lot more windy, curvy roads around mountains and hills. Pretty much everywhere around here you'll be able to see one mountain or large hill or something, which is a pretty good way. Well, maybe not this one. Actually, no, you can see some hills. And then moving up here, Temuco, you'll see everywhere summer coverage. Beautiful. Or spring, actually. But either way, very nice, very sunny compared to other bits down here where it's a bit drearier, less fun. Uh, yeah. The roads also start to get a bit grittier. So you'll see some of them are kind of wide, well, not wide, but long in a grid, especially on some of these roads here down south, which you don't see as much down here, except for like these two roads, the V500 and the V56. Yeah, moving up. If you're on the 5, it'll be pretty much everywhere. Double highway, divided with guardrails, with a little gap in the middle. So if you see that, pretty much always you'll be on the 5, somewhere around here. Uh, oh yeah, as you're getting around to Concepcion area, very foresty, pretty much everywhere you'll click, be very forested, as you can see. Dirt road, orange soil, or reddish soil. That's like the only place in Chile really you get that. And it's in pretty much every location. You'll find some kind of orangey red soil. Well, it doesn't show up so well in Gen 3, but you can trust me, it looks different than like everywhere else in Chile. And as you're getting onto this kind of peninsula here as well, especially, very red soil. If I can click somewhere else as well. Yeah, even in Gen 3, stands out very, very red. Um, into the city, right? It's quite hard to tell apart from the other cities. Apart from the fact that, yeah, it's kind of hilly in most places, and you'll find kind of pine trees from like the surrounding area on the hills, which is kind of different from like what you'd see in Los Angeles, right? The trees will be more more round, more warm feeling. Warm feeling, that's not the word, but I don't care. Yeah, well look, you even got a nice, ooh, monkey puzzle tree. You've even got a nice palm tree over here. Very Los Angeles, but you'll see first and foremost, not very many pine trees at all. There's like one in the kind of area. And then Chilan, I'm not very good at telling apart the cities. There's metas with like the poles and some of the markings they have on them. However, I don't know them and they're not that useful. Usually they apply to multiple cities at once. So they're not actually, oh, I forgot a bit down here. On these roads, these yellow roads, or not this one actually, this one isn't. This one does not have yellow markings anywhere along it. It's the one with the monkey puzzles though. So if you think Temuco to the right, the bottom road down here, It's got monkey puzzles pretty much all the way along until it meets up with this road where it gets some yellow lines, but there are still monkey puzzle trees knocking around sometimes. It's a pretty distinct area because it's like really open for in the mountains, this kind of region. But this northern road does have yellow road lines. And to tell it apart from some of these other ones over here is that this one, you're in like the middle of a valley. You're not actually in the mountains like you are in some of these other ones, where it's like, wow, you're kind of in the mountains, feeling a bit claustrophobic, like that. But not these ones. Plenty of space to breathe, plenty of space to just look around, be like, yeah, Chile's pretty, isn't it? Right, this is unofficial. Where are we now? Up here. That's where we are. This road is really weird. It starts off, at least the southern one starts off with some yellow lines, and then gradually they turn into, oh wow, this is weird. Look how yellow it is. Okay, I guess that's a thing over here. Okay, yeah, this section of road around this waypoint on the Q49, Q45, next to Los Angeles on the right. Down here, very, very yellow. I'll keep that in mind. But then down here, it gets like really kind of volcanic-y. Really kind of Icelandic, I suppose. Where there's like not much grass. Kind of these patches of plants. But yeah, it's really dark. Volcanic soil is common. And then it turns into Gen 4. Yay, lovely. But that's how you tell this road apart from the others. Los Angeles to the right, boom, bam, bim. Turns into a volcanic-y wasteland. Up here, this road isn't that special, really. But you'll usually be, like, on the side of a hill, as you can see. Usually, very autumnal. Trees lost their leaves, most of them, and they're on the side of the road. Pretty much everywhere you'll go. What's this road? This road's not very special. It's even got unofficial, well, not unofficial, trekker. Buh, disgusting. Oh yeah, over here, in this deserty patch, you'll feel, in quite a few locations, it does feel a bit drier than the surrounding area, with this long yellow grass. I mean, it'll still look kind of European, but it'll start looking a bit more like Spanish rather than like France or UK. But it's only really on this kind of region that's got the convenient deserty color on it. There's a similar bit up here actually, next to Carico, in between Carico and Santiago. It's also got the deserty bit, but it's even more yellow, it's even more deserty than the ones down south. Oh, come on, let me click on the road, there we go. The grass, right? Quite a bit of grass, quite long, very yellow, but then you come up here, not there actually. Come up here, grass everywhere, so yellow, so long, so dry, so luscious, so Spanish kind of looking. And that's a good way of telling these two parts apart. Uh, onto kind of, oh yeah, getting into it now. Here, from like Curico to around, actually pretty much just up to Santiago, you'll be in the valley, surrounded by mountains on the left and the right, east and west, I mean. Pretty much every location you'll see that isn't urban or cloudy, you'll see some mountains on both sides. And it starts to get a lot more urban. You'll be seeing fields everywhere, you'll be seeing houses, You'll be seeing roads shooting off everywhere, and a lot of vineyards. This is like vineyard central for Chile. Some fields, not a vineyard though. No, 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 no. Find me a vineyard, come on. There's a lot of them. Why can't I find one? Come on, find me one. Okay, well you have to trust me, there's a lot of vineyards around. Down here. That kind of actually continues on up to the north here, where again it starts to look a lot drier. A bit like this kind of footage near Curico. But it's a lot more mountainous. That's how you tell it apart. And the mountains you'll see start to develop this kind of fuzziness from all the cacti. Quick drawn over to Viña del Mar. This bit is really weird looking because it's the most tropical bit of Chile, in my opinion. You'll be seeing loads of these kind of coastal kind of reeds and ferns. Not ferns. You'll be also, but at the same time, you'll see a lot of like but at the same time, you'll be also seeing a lot of these kind of weird trees. I don't actually know what they are, but they're kind of spiky, really spiky and fuzzy, kind of pine trees. Yeah, I guess they're pine trees. And you get them around Viña, especially. But at the same time, it'll be looking very coastal and quite tropical in a way, quite dry, despite all the pine trees. But yeah, it's pretty much the only place on the coast that kind of looks like this. Concepcion's a lot colder looking, and then La Serena is a lot drier looking. Yeah, off to the areas north of Santiago, there's this big flat area around here that is pretty distinct because you'll be in the middle of a valley, completely surrounded by mountains, north, south, east, west, everywhere. So that's pretty useful area to look out for. There's this road next to it with Rio Branco. It's one of the last roads with yellow lines, but it's really distinct compared to the other ones. Don't think I really need to explain it. It's mountainous, it's dry, doesn't look like the ones near Temuco at all. And then these ones, kind of similar as well. However, only this road has the yellow lines, and it looks different because the mountains have snow on top rather than these ones where they're completely dry and barren. You'll also be along some water sometimes. Like, look how pretty that is. Wow, so blue. And yeah, Gen 3 compared to Gen 4 up here. That's another way in some of these little roads. Anyway, what's next? Illapel. Illapel. This region is really where you start seeing, that's a terrible example, really where you start seeing that the mountains are covered in cacti and plants. Now, I think there's like two kind of cacti you get in kind of this region between La Serena and Santiago. There's these fuzzy ones, that are very spiky, long spines, and then these ones you can see over here that are more branched and don't have as long spikes. Illapel over here, you'll see is really where this whole area kind of La Serena, down to like Santiago, but especially around Illapels where you'll start seeing that a lot of these mountains are completely covered in these grey bushes and cacti. The two hotspots really, I think, are around Ovale and Illapel, but they do kind of continue all the way along, just a bit less. Um, yeah, pretty much everywhere around here is Gen 4. No, it's not, I lied to you. Yeah, so a good way really is these fuzzy, very fuzzy cacti on the mountains everywhere, pretty much. And also, this is kind of the last area you'll start seeing vineyards. So you don't really see vineyards north of La Serena, really. So yeah, if you see them and it looks like this, whack it down over here somewhere. You'll probably be right. Then there are some mountainy roads over here. This one has yellow lines, but it looks different from the other ones. Down here, not down there, down here. There's less vegetation, even less. You'll see the Miraflores Road. And some of the mountains will have kind of glacial snow on top, but in the most part, most of them don't. Especially the ones closer to you on this road. Oh, what happened there? These two roads south are Gen 3, and they look kind of similar. They don't have the yellow road lines. This one doesn't even have road lines. It's on a dirt track. Oh my god, let me click. Yeah. No yellow road lines for that one. These roads kind of look similar as well. Now we get to the more interesting bits. This coastline here is really distinct because it's flat, but you can kind of see like some hills starting to appear on the east. But the main interesting bit is this kind of gross looking soil, very brown, with these little dark plants growing on the side. And yeah, grey ones, dark ones, and occasionally a little green one as well. Very nice. This is kind of a thing all the way along the coast around here, but plants get a bit bigger the more north you go. So down here, you know, pretty small, pretty dinky little things. Up here, proper bushes almost. And this is kind of true for up here as well, near Huasco. As you can see, lots and lots of these dark bushes. Oh yeah, near Huasco as well, you can kind of see more cacti starting to appear again. And then yeah, they kind of, there's pretty much this gap from where the mountains start leaving, or it starts getting flatter near Los Chorros up to about Huasco, or this national park here. Actually no, it actually continues up a little bit. Pretty much most of this coastline, to be fair. But down here, it's a lot cloudier. Up here, less cloudy. And then you're near Caldera, gets cloudy again. Except you don't see the little grey plants so much anymore. They kind of just disappeared. And you get instead, it's very, starting actually to get a bit red on the sand. But yeah, really, really sandy. True for pretty much most of the roads around here. So that's a pretty good area to teleport from others. And then in the kind of center of this, of Chile, you'll be on the 5. This 5 is more distinct than elsewhere because, again, still double divided guardrails split in the middle. But it'll be pretty much all of it will be this road angle all the way up till like Copiapo from Villanor. It's pretty easy to teleport from places north because the road angle. Yeah, this is where road angle sus gets a lot more important, especially above. You can see the coverage just kind of ends here as you approach Antofagasta region. So that's a good way. It's a good thing to remember that most of the coverage is down here. And yeah, again, you'll see the plants in the middle, grey, kind of coastal-ish looking. And then on these roads here, jutting out of Copiaco to the southeast, you'll have this one, which is a bit more open at first. Actually, pretty much all of it is a bit more open. But it's all Gen 4. A lot of Gen 4 around Copiapo, actually. And it'll be really rocky. Like boulders, massive boulders everywhere. That's along the north road. Along the south road here, you'll be more in a valley. Less boulderish, more just rocky. But yeah, there'll be valleys with vineyards in them. Or something. I assume they're vineyards. Yeah, they look like vineyards. And the mountain's also kind of pinkish. But yeah, that's kind of a thing with Copiapo. If you click like pretty much everywhere, you'll be getting these more spikier, pinkish kind of mountains that you don't see north or south of here. But yeah, it'll be completely barren pretty much. But in general, pink, spiky mountains, that's Copiapo. And you can kind of maybe line it up, depends. Depends on the road. This one over here as well is really distinct because not only does it have the yellow road lines and the kind of conical mountains which you would see more so up here near the Los Flamencos Park, but you'll be seeing snow on the side of the roads and you'll be also seeing snow poles on the side of the road, which makes this road really easy to tell apart from all the others. It's kind of free. Anyway, moving up here in Tafakasta, up to Tatao, you'll really see pretty much all these roads here have this really kind of pinkish kind of look in the sand. And yeah, Tatao is pretty much where the red soil kind of lives. North Copiapo up to Tatao, however the mountains you'll see are a lot more sloping, a lot less like sharp than the Copiapo ones. A lot more sandier as well, rather than mountainous or rocky. And yeah, this road is, again, something to do with lining it up. It's all pretty much the same direction, all the way from down here. But, yeah, above, about like here-ish is where the mountains stop being pink. So it's kind of just from around El Cobre to like Copiapo is where you get more pink mountains. But not all of them, of course. But if you get a pink mountain, it's going to be somewhere around here. Antofagasta, you'll see the hills are a lot smaller than down south. They'll still be kind of sharp, but not nearly as sharp as the Copiapo ones. They'll be a lot more rolling, a lot more smooth. And also there's a lot of Gen 3 around here for whatever reason. Even on like the 5 here, on the main road. They'll be getting some bits of Gen 3. Oh yeah, over here you'll see this road next to this mountain, Morro Moreno, where the kind of hook of Antofagasta lives. Actually, is that the name of the mountain? Whatever, it's a national park. Who cares? You'll be getting this really dark soil, really, really sandy, really, really cloudy. Gen 3, which is pretty unique for the coast, because most of the coastline here has been moved to Gen 4, but in general, if you're on this little hook area, you'll be getting really dark soil, and it'll be Gen 3 for quite a bit of it. Not all of it. Yeah. Antofagasta is actually a pretty easy city to tell apart from all the others, because you'll be surrounded by these mountains that look very Antofagastan. You'll see most of the other cities around here, not nearly as big, like this one, not as big. Taltal, not as big. Antofagasta is really like the main big one that you'll see. It'll be really urbanized. You'll be able to see the ocean if you go down here. You're able to see the ocean down there with these big cupping mountains coming around you. So they're pretty easy. Not a bad way to tell that kind of area apart. This area of the 5, really long and straight at this angle, north-south almost. Kind of around here as well. It'll be a similar angle all the way along around Kalama. But then from about this intersection here between on the 25, on the 24 and the 5, up to around this turning here of the A85 around Ramaditas, it'll be all entirely in Gen 3, which is a good coverage meta in my opinion. Because I don't know why they haven't updated it Gen 4, but it's a long stretch of road here, all pretty much the same angle of kind of northeast-ish, northwest-ish, pretty much north-south for most of it though. And then also this part of the road along the 24 from Tocopilla to the intersection, and actually a little bit further, is Gen 3 as well. Moving over here, actually no, let's go along the coast. This coast, I call it Tocopilla Coast, because it's pretty much all around the city of Tocopilla, is really distinct. You'll be seeing big mountains on your right, all in the clouds, and then you'll be seeing the wide open ocean to the west. It's pretty much the same all the way along here, except for like, yeah, you'll pretty much see like, it looks like this everywhere, all along this coastline, north and south of it. Up to around like, around here, around Iquique, where the mountains start to retreat a little bit. And you'll be seeing there, quite distant, not nearly as tall. And also, the haze kind of disappears. You can see there's a bit of a haze on the camera. You see that along the coast a lot for some reason. Yeah, after here, Los Flamencos kind of area. How to tell the roads apart? This one, Gen 3. Yellow road lines, Gen 3. Until about around here, I think. Where does it turn into Gen 4? Around here, somewhere. Turns into Gen 4, and you'll see loads and loads of these really fluffy yellow plants. Very Bolivian looking, actually. Not that road, though. If you click over here, not there. Yeah, kind of like this one. This kind of plant, where it's like really fluffy, spurring out the ground. Except there'll be a lot more yellow. And it'll be Gen 4, of course. Down here. These roads, completely Gen 4. Also really fluffy. much like the one up here, but this one will have a lot more in general than this one, the 27. These middle roads do not have yellow road lines in the middle. They're actually not like fully paved. They're like kind of unpaved-ish, sort of, in a way. But yeah, you'll still see the kind of fluffy yellow plants. You'll still see the big mountains. It's just that they won't look quite the same as the other roads around. On this one, near Outer Lower, is kind of similar to like down here, except the road will be different. It won't be paved, and you also commonly be seen next to kind of these salt flats here, which is quite different from the areas south. Oh yeah, some more. This national park here, Pampa del Tamarugal, is really interesting because it'll be forested pretty much the whole way along. With these kind of, I don't know what you'd call them actually, but trees. You'd see trees, which is very different from kind of like down here, where really barren. But yeah, trees over here, that's always a nice thing. Line up with the road and you can, with the road angle at least, and you can pretty much know, yeah, you're definitely along here. Because they don't even continue that far up. It's only a really specific area in like the north of the national park. This one, the Pica Road, Gen 3, you'll see also has got kind of pinkish orangey tinge to it. But you'll be going up at this angle, northeast, and you'll be able to see a ridge on the west and a ridge on the east. Ridge on the west should be usually a bit closer than the one on the west, as you can see. It's quite a good road. Pica, next to Kike. It's in this kind of flat area. Most of these roads actually look really similar, but Pica's got more of a red tinge to it than some of these other ones. This one's Gen 4, apparently. And again, yeah, you can see more trees. Again, to the around north of the national park there. Just kind of this area is where you get them. Over here, start getting into the mountains, and pretty much most areas around here look kind of the same. It's hard to tell one road from the other. They're kind of identical. But they're pretty much in the same sort of area, so there's not many points you can lose out on. Oh yeah, up here, along the 15, you get the return of, where are they? The return of the cacti, which is really weird for some reason. Don't know why you get it. Get cacti up on this road. It's kind of not where you'd expect it. But yeah, especially along kind of the further reaches, you'll see more cacti knocking about. No, you won't. I lied to you. Yeah, and these roads north of Pica, some of them have some cacti for some reason. Don't get confused thinking it's done all the way south here. That would be really bad. But yeah, you'll see more tufty, fluffy plants like this. But the mountains will look completely different than the Los Flamenco ones. As you can see, not nearly as cone-shaped, not nearly as rocky. Oh yeah, and another really good way is you'll see this mountain here. Don't know what it's called, but it looks really distinct. It's one of the only ones around that doesn't have snow on the top, and you can see it from pretty much every location around this kind of ring road on the A465 and the 15. But you can even see it from here. Where'd it be? Like south. Okay, maybe you can't. Not from there, but for most of these locations, yeah, you'll be able to see this really big mountain, and you can kind of line it up pretty nicely with the angle. But yeah, here it is. Figure it out from there. Now we're almost at the top here. Kike, similar to Antofagasta in look. However, the angle and the mountains will be a lot closer. Like even from like here, the mountains look really, really close compared to Antofagasta, where you kind of click here, and the mountains are like pretty far away, unless you're like right on the side. But then you'll notice that the ocean's really far away as well. So in general, yeah, Iquique, mountains a lot closer. Much, much closer than Antofagasta. Um, yeah, these roads, again, similar, really flat. This is kind of a valley, I guess. Not really a valley, but just a really flat area in between these mountains and these hills. Just north of, or just to the side of Iquique. I think there's like a visual difference as well. Yeah, you'll just know it's on these roads that kind of run parallel to each other, northwest. They all look kind of similar, to be fair. This one's unpaved. This one is paved. And then this one is paved, but looks kind of different. Yeah. All those mountains. Yeah, over here as well, you'll see really big valley. You'll be in between up here, where there's just big mountain on one side, big mountain range on the other side. And it kind of continues on for pretty much most of these roads down here. Except for this one, you'll be on top of the mountains actually. But that's kind of a good way to tell if you're up north, if you're in like a big valley between these sloping mountains, really sloping mountains, not sharp at all. If you see peaks, you're probably up north. And also the soil kind of gets redder, kind of more orangey, pinkish color that develops over up here, especially in Gen 4. You can kind of see in the mountain, but not nearly as much as like Tatal, as you can see. Completely different. Yeah, the guide that I'll be putting in the description goes way more in depth on these ones, how to tell each one of them apart from the other. So yeah, definitely read that one, it's very useful. But I'll be going over what I can so far. Yeah, this road is really annoying. I hate it so much. It looks a lot like some of these southern ones. Yeah, especially this one. It looks really similar. Because it's Gen 3 as well, which is annoying. But in most locations, you'll be able to see this really big mountain up north here. Which is here. I said volcano. Parinacota. Most locations, you'll see it's this big one. There's also a sister one over there. You can kind of see. Can't see in all the locations, but For most of them you can, and you can kind of get this gist that, okay, I'm up here. But yeah, these bits are annoying and I hate them. You also start to get more plants on the side, more bushes, which is nice. What is this? What? I've not actually seen this red before. Anyway, yeah, more bushes with these kind of yellow flowers on them. Really nice to look at. Some of it's Gen 3, some of it's Gen 4. But yeah, you'll be seeing these big mountains in the distance. I think that's the same mountains. Should be. Yeah. And finally, this road, the 8th A1 is really distinct. Sunset coverage. And you'll be seeing this really big ridge to your north for most of it, pretty much. Hard to see on this one, but there's still a ridge somewhere. Yeah, the mountains, again, still get really, really sandy, really, really slopey. And you'll start to be in, like right up north in Arica, you'll start to be kind of in these valleys in between where there'll be lots of plants, vegetation, stuff, growing, greenery. And yeah, that's pretty much just how the kind of Arica area looks. Arica, the city, a good way to tell it apart from like everywhere else, especially up north, no mountains. No mountains around in sight. Well, there's a couple, but like not nearly as big as like Antofagasta kind of mountains. Even if you're by the coast, yeah. No big hills in sight. I forgot Calama. Calama is kind of a weird city. It's flat in general and looks really deserty. But there'll be like some hills to the northwest, but not to the south or east or anything like that. Yeah, that's pretty much it for all these specific roads. Some of them are kind of weird, like this. I don't know what's going on with this red side, but that's kind of cool. Yeah, that's about it really.